American dream didn't just fade away.
You can make it here in America if you're willing to try.
American dream is big enough for everyone.
Saving the American dream.
It was stolen.
Those who become American citizens love this country even more.
And the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before.
And it's being used as a tool.
The dream is back and it's alive and well.
That there is no other place a story like mine would even be possible.
To disproportionately benefit the minority at the top. In the 1950s, there's this man named Average Joe. He gets a job with Chevrolet on their assembly line. He makes around $4,000 in his first year, and after 3 years of working at Chevrolet, he's able to buy a car and a house. The house costs $10,000, and the car he got is a Chevrolet Bel Air that only costs $1,500. A year later, he finds a woman and marries her, and they are so in love that they have 2 kids. And Average Joe is able to live the American dream. He's able to support his family, he's able to build wealth, and he's able to do things outside of just working, like go on vacation or go out to eat, without having to struggle financially. And for 3 decades after World War II, America builds the largest, most growthful economy that it's ever seen, and Average Joe is able to benefit off of this. He's able to build more wealth, able to go on more vacations, he gets a promotion, he's making more money, his family is happy, and he's part of the largest middle class that America has ever seen at this point in time. He's also a part of a union. This union gives Average Joe the ability to negotiate for his wages, to negotiate for better working conditions and better hours. And around 18 and 19 years later, Average Joe's son Michael gets into the workforce and he gets a job as an air traffic controller. But he's facing more difficult situation than his father. It would take Michael around 5 to 6 years to be able to get a car and a house, where it only took his father around 3. However, Michael doesn't know this yet, but major changes are coming to the American workforce, and it starts with someone named Milton Friedman. Now, Milton, for a number of years now, has been creating books, essays, and articles about how corporations should prioritize shareholder value than actually prioritizing workers, worker environment, and compensation. And in 1970, he creates this very vital article called "The Social Responsibility of Business is to Increase Its Profits." And this goes viral. Every business owner, every CEO, and every business gets a hold of this article. And we start to see this shift of businesses and corporations balancing workers, community, and shareholders to just prioritizing shareholders. And this shift continues for 10 years while Michael is saving up for a house until 1981, where we see a huge turning point in America and union influence over the workplace with the PATCO strike. So 13,000 employees of air traffic controlling go on strike. They're not working anymore. And Ronald Reagan is the president at this time. And you know who he appointed as one of his advisors? Yeah, Milton Friedman. And usually in this situation, businesses would negotiate with strikers and try to get them back to work. And what they were striking on is better wages, better hours, and better working conditions. But that's not what happened, because Ronald Reagan, shortly after, gave these air traffic controllers 48 hours to go back to work or forfeit their jobs.
That I must tell those who fail to report for duty this morning, they are in violation of the law, and if they do not report for work within 48 hours, they have forfeited their jobs and will be terminated.
And 48 hours later, 11,000 air traffic controller employees, a part of this union, were terminated. And this one incident greatly decreased the political and negotiating powers of unions across the United States. And the workforce was just never the same after the 1981 PATCO strikes. And so what this did is it created a scenario where power among the workforce in America, which was usually spread out, greatly moved upward and concentrated for shareholders and CEOs of corporations in the workforce in America. And what happened due to this is the economy continued to double. However, wages haven't really changed, adjusted for inflation. The average American's weekly pay has risen 31% over the past 6 years. That's faster than prices across that period. So Americans in the aggregate aren't losing ground, but inflation wiped out most of their income gains. What Average Joe was making in 1950, $4,000, adjusted for inflation today, is around $50,000, what the median income for an American is. But housing Healthcare, food, education, and transportation are all up compared to 1950 adjusted for inflation. Since 2000, housing costs have been rising faster than median household income. Inflation-adjusted rents have grown steadily to more than 20% above their 2000 level. Inflation-adjusted prices for single-family homes have grown even faster. Over the entire period, inflation-adjusted house prices rose about 65%. In contrast, inflation-adjusted median household income barely rose over the whole time period. Healthcare remains the fastest rising expense over the long term, increasing at an average annual rate of 4.9% since 2001. The cost of college tuition has also risen significantly since the 1970s. Baby boomers paid an inflation-adjusted average of $3,519 for tuition at a public college, compared to $9,750 in 2023, a 177% increase. And because of these rising costs throughout the economy, it now takes two incomes to just get by. Around 90% of Americans say it takes two incomes for them just to survive. And all because companies have shifted their mindsets from thinking workers are assets to thinking they're liabilities to their bottom line. Back in the 1950s, CEOs only made around $300,000 a year, but now CEOs are making around $30 million. From the Economic Policy Institute, the data show that CEOs are paid much more today than they were in the mid-1900s and many times what they earned in the 1960s and 1970s. In fact, realized compensation for CEOs is now 1,094 times higher than it was in 1978. Over the same time period, the pay for typical workers only increased 26%. As a result, the CEO to worker compensation ratio grew tremendously, nearly tenfold, from 31:1 in 1978 to 281:1 in 2004. And on top of that, and one of the major corporates is CEOs now dictate what they make, especially through how they can invest into their own company and stocks. Back in the day, the economy generated hope. It generated promise. People felt safe. They felt like they had somewhere where they could build a family, where they could grow wealthy, and where they could retire. But that has gone away. It feels like the system and the economy is rigged for the American people. And that's because it is. Because the system and the American dream was stolen from the majority of people to benefit the minority at the top. And honestly, if I was in my 70s or above, seeing the shift from what America used to be to what it is now has to be kind of terrifying. We used to be the center of the world, a huge growing economy, a huge middle class, worker unions, the ability to negotiate for better working conditions and higher pay, to what we have now where we are ever growing the wealth inequality. Power and concentration is at the top. And the solution, at least when it comes to people who consider themselves Democrats and liberals, is to tax the wealthiest people in America and to put this money back into the economy for the middle and lower classes. And on the other hand, people who consider themselves Republicans say this is not the way. Opening up the market and having less oversight of the government is the best way to get America back to where it used to be. And this has created a huge political divide among Democrats and Republicans. This is a distraction from how corporate and financial elites are concentrating power at the top and taking it away from the workforce and majority of Americans. The game has for a long time been rigged. The system that we live in, what you do on a daily basis is the system, and that system is now rigged. Markets depend on rules when it comes to monopolies, contracts, taxes, labor unions, bankruptcy, and how all this is enforced. And these rules are not made in nature. Humans make these rules. And these rules have been altered over the last 4 decades as Wall Street, large corporations, and wealthy individuals have concentrated power at the top to benefit themselves. And since they have this power, they can make the rules. And they are systematically making the rules to benefit themselves and leave the majority of us behind. We do not benefit from the system anymore. It is pit against us. It is not for us any longer. And they're able to do this because they have hijacked politicians. Wall Street, corporations, and wealthy individuals have gained the influence of politicians. That's why elections are decided by billionaires. because they pay an immense amount of money to influence politicians to get what they want within the system. Corporations and CEOs now control the system. It is not the government, it is not the political system, it is these individuals and the wealthy percent at the top that control everything because they have gained the influence of politicians. And it benefits the politicians to help these individuals and these corporations because they also get ahead. So while politicians, wealthy individuals, and corporations are benefiting from the system in the United States, everybody else, the middle class and the poor, which is now just the poor, is being left behind. And this is going to cause the greatest political divide that we've ever seen in American history between the wealthy and the non-wealthy, between the minority at the top and the majority at the bottom. Because money and wealth aren't decided on how hard you work or how talented you are. It's decided on who makes the rules and who gets paid what. Who creates the rules to say that this person gets paid this and that person gets paid that. And right now, top executives and Wall Street leaders have enough power to set up the system in their favor, often using advantages that regular people just don't have. Meanwhile, regular people have lost their power, mostly through unions. And so that's one of the major reasons that their wages haven't increased. And so the result of this is majority of people work full time and still struggle financially, while a minority of the people don't have to work that much and make immense amount of money. And so pay is really no longer really tied to effort or value. It's tied to power, and who has the power makes the money. And this is ever more looking like an oligarchy because the problem is not what the size of the government is, it's who the government is for. And the government is not for you. And so the solution to this is to not give up on democracy. It's for the majority of people who lack influence to come together and to unify and to reestablish the power that they had that was key to widespread prosperity. And then the last line of the article that I got this inspiration from Robert Reich, it reads, "The challenge is not just economic, but political. Economics and politics cannot be separated." So I highly encourage, if you found this valuable, to share this with somebody that you know. It's important for as many people to see this video as possible because it's going to take all of us to get the America that we have been told about, that I've been told about my whole life, that was prosperous, that had all this opportunity, because that has been stolen away from us. The American dream has been stolen away from people that want to make as much profit and money as they possibly can. And doing this research has honestly just opened my eyes to what is actually going on. That the system is rigged. It is rigged for you to fail. It is rigged for you to struggle for the remainder of your life. And honestly, AI is just going to extremely exaggerate that. We need to make the realization that they are rigging the game right in front of our eyes. And if we can do that, if we can somehow, as an American people, come together and understand this and realize this, we have the power to actually make the change that we want.